We have a function right here. It's a straight line. So I know it's something like y equals mx plus b. I want to sketch the derivative. Well, I know in my brain the derivative of y equals mx plus b is just y equals m. It's just a constant. And this has the same slope everywhere. So if I come over here and go to my freehand here, I don't know exactly what the slope is, but I know some positive constant. Okay? Ignore that little dip there. And if I come over here now and I look and say, okay, what is the graph of the derivative? To check myself, we see, okay, I should have been up at 5, so I could fix this if I wanted to and say, okay, this graph, this should have been up at 5. Okay, ignore the little dips, that's just the thing not working. Okay, let's look at another one here. All right, we'll get rid of this, delete. And let's open a new GeoGebra here. So open a recent. Let's look at my second graph here. Okay, so here we go. Here's my second graph. We'll just kind of play around with this for a minute. And let me get out a new, I'll just do a new one over here. Let's just get rid of these, delete and delete. Okay, so now I'm looking at the derivative for this one. So when you look at the derivative, remember derivative is slopes. So the first thing you find are the zeros. And I see there's a zero somewhere around 5 here. So I'm going to come over on my graph on this side. I'm going to make my window here a little bit bigger so that I can see it. Okay, and say, all right, I know that for this graph, it's going to be 0 at 5. So I'm going to just put in the point here, 5, 0. All right, now I want to look, and if I look over here, I've got negative slopes, then positive slopes. So the first thing I'm going to do over here is I'm just going to draw myself a little thing of notes and say, okay, I've got negative slopes and then positive slopes, and here's 5 in the middle here. This is, again, 5. So now I want to graph that. I've got negative slopes, then positive slopes. So what's that going to look like? Well, it's going to be negative, and then it goes positive. And that's kind of my guess as to what the derivative looks like. And if I come over here and I check, I can see that, yep, indeed, we'll just change the color of this so you can see it. Indeed, what happens is I have a graph that's negative, it's 0, and then it's positive. Mine's not perfect, but it's pretty good. All right, let's look at one more example. Okay, I'm going to open up one more graph here. And here's our next graph, and let's just get rid of this. And let's look at how we would do this one. Let's get rid of this point as well. Okay, so again, when I look at this graph, I see that the slope looks to be 0 at A, at B, and at C. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put those points on here. I'm going to put the point negative 2, 0. Why? Again, why 0? Because it has a slope of 0. So negative 2, 0. We'll move this over. So, whoops. Let's get rid of that. Delete. We'll move this whole graph over so we can see it. Okay, bring this in just a little bit. All right, there we go. It seems to have a 0. The slope, again, is 0 at the point 4, 0. So we're going to put that in over here. And it seems to have a slope of 0 at 6. So we're going to put in over here the point 6, 0. All right, now we're going to do the same thing we did before. So we're going to go over here. I'm going to go to my drawing function. I'm going to say, okay, if I look at all these slopes, they're negative. So I've got negative slopes, negative values here. In between A and B, between negative 2 and 4, I have positive slopes. So I know that I need positive y values in here. Between B and C, the slopes over here, the slopes of my tangent lines are negative. It's a downhill, so I have negative slopes here. Here all my slopes are positive. It's uphill. Okay, and you can think of slopes like, if you're climbing a mountain or skiing, here you're skiing down, here you're walking up the hill, you're coming down the hill, you're walking up the hill. So negative, positive, negative, positive. If I'm graphing the derivative, these signs refer to the y values. So if I want to graph this, I need it to be negative y values, then positive in here, back to 0, then negative, I don't know how negative, and then positive. So I'm guessing my derivative looks something like that. Okay, again, it's negative, then my derivative is positive, then my derivative is negative, and then it's positive. And if when I come over here and I do my check, whoopsie, I've got to get this parentheses right, f prime of x, sorry. Now if you look, let me again just color this a different color so that you can see it. Just color this blue. And look at my derivative, look at the shape of it. It's pretty darn close to what I drew over here. I went up not quite as high as I should have and come down quite as low, but the overall shape is what we're looking for. So remember, when you're going from a function to the derivative, the first thing you do is look at where the slope is 0. Look for those valleys and those peaks. Put those on your graph. And then look at the sign. Are you coming downhill? That's a negative. Are you going uphill? That's a positive. Make a little sign chart for yourself. And then when you come to graph it, again, these signs refer to the y values. So I have negative y values, positive y values, negative y values, positive y values. So I hope this little video has helped you out.